Yo, what's up, guys? It's the Schizomanic here, Insane Game Freak, the dude who does the pokey reviews of the movies. Back at it again with another one. Um, movie 2 review is still up, so the plan works, so we're going to keep that going. Hopefully, this time we won't have any echo or audio issues in fucking post editing, because fuck you, Adobe. Uh, but once again,
Nice.
the main
Nice.
crew is here. Tyrone, how are you doing, sir?
Hello, everybody. Tyrone the God 3. Glad to be here. Glad to be here for this one.
Richie, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad Showpo hasn't fucking caught us yet.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming, Richie. We can't do anything about it. We're just avoiding as much as we can. We're gonna grind
Yeah.
this bitch out. That's all we're trying to do.
Other than that, it's good. It's good to be back. Can't wait for this one.
All right.
We're not reviewing Pokemon. We're reviewing something wholesome like Veggie Tales.
So are we gonna talk about the word of Jesus?
Jesus.
Do we need to discuss the word of God then? Is that what needs to happen?
Right. Because that's what we're doing. Isn't that right, YouTube viewers?
Oh God. And yeah, you see what I did there? Anyways, which is funny because Tyrone has the word God in his YouTube channel, so it's perfectly fitting.
Yay!
Anywho, Rich, well, actually, you know what? Instead of Tyrone this time, Richie, do you want to get the plot summary?
No!
Wow.
Go
Why you
ahead,
do
Rick.
Tyron?
Listen. If you don't want to do it, Tyrone will do it. I'm
gonna
giving you the option to do it.
Go ahead, Richie.
Nah, I was gonna offer it to Tyrone, but what I will do instead is later on, I guess after he's done, I like to talk about the original idea for this movie. So,
Okay, Tyrone, go ahead then.
All right, Pokemon Movie 3, also known as The Spell of Unknown, also known as Entei, Lord of Unknown Tower. This movie, oh my god. So the movie begins with Professor Hale Spencer and his daughter, Molly, and they're reading a book on legendary Pokemon. One of the Pokemon they look up is Unknown, which is Professor Hale's favorite Pokemon. Molly's favorite Pokemon is Entei because of how strong it looks, and they basically have this nice bonding moment between father and daughter. But then Professor Hale's assistant ends up emailing him saying, "Hey, we found a ruins. Come check this out." When they go to check out the ruins later on, Professor Hale stumbles upon a couple of unknown. The unknown teleport him to a different area that he ends up missing, so they presume he's dead because he's nowhere to be found. When they break the news to Molly, Molly ends up getting upset. But beyond her being upset, she ends up stumbling across the tablets that the unknown were made of. They actually contain unknown in them. The unknown awaken. They end up making her wishes and dreams come true, thus crystallizing the entire mansion within the Greenfield area. Once it does that, it basically kicks everybody else out with her inside. Entei ends up getting materialized thanks to the unknown and disguises himself as Molly's father, which is the spirit of Professor Spencer Hale. She views him as the dad, and then she goes off to wish for more things, and then we get our title sequence. After that, we see Ash, Misty, and Brock traveling towards Greenfield, and they run across a trainer known as Lisa. Ash and Lisa end up battling in a 6v6 that's probably the best thing to ever come out of your childhood. The match ends in a draw, question mark, where they end up having a good time battling, though, and they are about to head to Greenfield. When they're about to head to Greenfield, Ash says he remembers Greenfield from when he used to hang out there a long time ago. Once they head towards Greenfield, though, they notice that it's completely opposite of what Ash remembers it. It's crystallized and has all these crystals and things built up around it. Once Professor Oak gets the news that something has happened down in Greenfield, he contacts Delia Ketchum. She remembers that Greenfield used to be this luscious green area where Professor Hale lives because they used to be college roommates together, or they used to be fellow students. Because of this, though, she decides to go investigate along with Professor Oak. Once they head towards Greenfield, they meet up with Ash and the others, and when Molly sees that Ash is with his mother, she ends up missing her own mother because she was missing before the movie even started, and she states that she wants a mama too, and Entei goes off to go kidnap Ash's mother. That way, this gets personal now. So once Ash's mother gets kidnapped, Ash goes in pursuit of Entei. However, he's unable to get there due to the crystallized field. Because of this, though, Lisa gives Ash the Poke Gear so that he can contact Lisa and Professor Oak whenever he runs into trouble, and he decides to run off and go save his mother on his own. Brock and Misty end up coming with them. They use their Pokemon in very resourceful and innovative ways in order to get inside the tower. Team Rocket winds up stumbling inside the tower because Entei attacked them and they crashed inside. Then after that, when Ash and the others progress towards the tower, Molly ends up wanting to battle them in Pokemon battles, and thus she turns into various ages for all of your weird fetish needs. After that, she ends up battling off against Brock. Once she fights off against Brock, she's at her oldest and debatably most attractive form. She fights off against Misty underwater in an area where they can still breathe for some reason, but she's a much younger version of herself. Ash advances to the top floor, in which she sees Molly in her original form, tries to get Molly to snap out of it, and tries to get Ash tries to get his mom back. But when this happens, Molly throws a fit, crystallizes the entire area. Entei fights back. Ash's Pokemon have been fighting off against Entei. Once Ash is about to fall off the tower, he is saved by Charizard. Yes, Charizard was watching the...
That's my boy.
It's your boy.
And it was preluded because Charizard was watching the entire situation from a TV in the Charizard Valley. So Charizard ends up in an epic battle with Entei. The two end up clashing, and it's a really beautifully animated fight. However, Charizard ends up getting the lower half of it. He ends up about to get killed by Entei, but Molly is touched by all the fighting and feels it hits her right deep in her heart. So she cries to Entei, telling him to stop. Once this happens, the heroes basically snap something into Molly to get her to realize that the dreams and illusions that she's making is not the real deal, and if she wants to be happy, she's going to have to face the real world. Once Molly accepts this and feels that Entei feels like he needs to go, but before that happens, the unknowns have built up way too much psychic energy and are about to destroy the entire world and crystallize the entire Greenfields area. Ash, Pikachu, Charizard try to stop the unknown, but it's not enough. Then Entei comes in. Molly believes in Entei. Entei gains the power in order to stop the unknown. Once the unknown is destroyed, Entei goes away because he was an illusion. All of the illusions end up going away. Greenfield is returned back to normal, and everything is basically hunky-dory, and that's the end of the movie. And Molly even gets her parents back.
Woo!
The end.
Now, Richie,
Nice.
I think you had something you wanted to say first.
Nice. Oh yeah. So usually you would think that when they come up with an idea for a Pokemon movie, that would be the one that they stick with. Other than Mewtwo, where they had a different idea at first, but then it was still the same idea. It's just how they did it was widely different. But anyways, what if I told you that movie 3 was supposed to be about Tyrannosaurus Rex? And I'm not talking about like a Pokemon version of it. I'm talking about like the real deal, Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I'm glad they went back to the drawing board. That's my response.
Right. So basically, I like to talk about this for like 5 minutes, 5 minutes in the best way I can sum it up. Even though
Go
there's
ahead.
a lot of information about it. All right. So basically, after movie 2, obviously, Mr. Shudo, if I said that correctly, was, as it says here, he sat in his hospital bed staring up at the ceiling, and he decided he wanted to make a film that asked, what is this world that I'm in? So like not self-aware of what the Tyrannosaurus Rex's world would be at, if you get it. So what he wanted to do is explore the idea of what happened to the real world animals, which that would have been weird, but I think they could have pulled it off, because it's not like he comes up with shit plots. He actually, I think one of the best movies that he's involved in was just because of him alone. So with that being said, by the time when the story was being worked on, as you know, the Gold and Silver games had already been delayed, and the problem was that there weren't any new Pokemon at the time left for the movie staff to really advertise in game stuff, because it's the tradition for new Pokemon in the movie to be advertised as hell, not only for the purpose of the anime but also for the games. It said it took him a year and a half basically to come up with the story pitch. However, he had the expectation that his proposal will be rejected because he thought that, oh, they'll probably find this too complicated, or maybe it'll shake up the status quo so much. But I don't really buy that because, you know, Pokemon, at least lately, has broken patterns. So I don't really get the fact of, oh, we're gonna break the status quo. I'm not sure if they'll like it, but that's just me. But in reality, the reason why the story was rejected was because they thought a story where a bunch of minerals gain consciousness and come to life will be a hit, which I find a little bit ironic because, you know, movie 1 with Mewtwo just, you know, came from cells. But anyways, so and there were also concerns about how well the second movie did, not only in Japan but also how well it did domestically, and it still didn't perform nearly as well as the first movie. So I guess you could say there were two reasons. They didn't like the way how these dinosaurs would come to life, and they were worried about coming up with a better hit for not only better than movie 2 but also movie 1, which, as I just said, movie 1 was better in terms of movie 2, I guess, in terms of numbers. So, and then a few days later, the people behind the video game sent over the designs of the 4 new Pokemon that were set to debut in Gold and Silver, and 2 of those, from according to the reports, were Entei and Unknown. So they looked at it and they were like, "Yeah, let's just make a movie off of it." So that's pretty much the original idea. Personally, I would have loved to see the idea, but I can also see why they didn't want to do it. But at this point, real life animals in Pokemon would just be kind of weird, in my opinion. So I just why I like to touch based upon the original idea. So that's it.
Huh.
Interesting.
That's huh. I don't think I'm not really against that as a concept.
Right. It's interesting.
Yeah, if nothing else. But I guess it's kind of hard. I feel like that was a video that's almost like a discussion topic in itself.
Right.
Which is part of the reason why I kind of don't want to address it the way I want to, because I'm like, yeah, that could be a whole thing in itself. We could like sit here for a good hour just talking about concepts for that.
Right.
So I guess for right now we're gonna shelve it. That does seem like something we could talk about later in the future videos, but for right now we're gonna shelve it. I guess as far as now is concerned, let's start this off. What language did we watch this film in? I think I'm English. Richie?
English.
Okay.
English.
Tyrone?
And then I watched it in English because I'm sorry, I love the Johto theme remixed.
Folks, it's probably not going to get Japanese until probably like the latter half of the films. Like around
and
movie.
I like the song at the I love the song at the end.
Like it probably won't get. I don't know how many people are going to listen to the Sino dub, but for me, it might start getting Japanese as early as movie 9. So we'll see what happens, but it's probably gonna be English for a while. So just don't expect a lot of transitioning in as far as that's concerned.
It's a lot harder to find Japanese dubs this early compared to when you get to Diamond and Pearl, which become a little bit easier, but not.
Yeah, because Diamond and Pearl came out.
Much.
Because Diamond and Pearl came out during the YouTube era. Like during the internet boom, whereas these other movies, like we're still in like what was movie 3 came out in 2001?
Yes, came out in 2000 in Japan, 2001 in America, I believe.
Yeah, so like we've already like these films, we're not even halfway through the 2000s yet. So I don't want to do this thing where we split this up into sections. I just want to talk about the films. And I'm talking about the film in general instead of what we did last time. So first thing I want to just fucking address. The most valuable character, the most valuable thing in this film is the fucking news. It tripped me out watching this film how important and how well the news is used throughout this fucking
news source.
No way.
And let me just explain for those who don't understand the context. Originally, when I first watched this film, I enjoyed it and then as time went on, I hadn't watched it in a while. I went into the thought process of like, oh, maybe I think this film has a few plot holes, but I still like it. And then when I rewatched it last night, I was surprised how tight everything was plot wise, because the news is what alerts Charizard, so it's not a real cop out when he shows up. I mean, it's still pandering to me, but they at least foreshadowed it instead of it just coming out of fucking nowhere. The news is how Oak and Delia get involved. The news, hell, even Molly uses the news to like put out a threat saying everyone leave them alone. She just wants to be left alone with her mother and father. Like, the news is consistently used as a way of advancing the plot, and it doesn't feel like filler. It's like it's like a natural progression of the story, and the news helps with that progression. I don't know why, but I really fucking like that, because that doesn't normally happen in films.
And it's because common, and not just in films, but in anime, it's a cliche where the news is involved sometimes, or the media is involved, but it's usually involved for 1 to 2 reasons. One, it's usually involved to get the audience or the general public perspective of what's going on, even though the audience, the person that's watching, already knows. Or 2, it's just like used as padding exposition for something that we already know but need to be recapped on or something. Like in Dragon Ball, it's very bad. Like, I know the Cell Saga's filled to the brim with it during Cell Saga Cell games. Like, it's mostly just used to tell the audience members what's going on. Unfortunately, once the fights get so intense, the microphone and TV breaks, so now it's just cutting to the news for no reason.
Yeah, because like for example, just to use a better example for this film, the way Ash's mom breaks out of the hypnosis is by seeing her son on the news, like,
right,
and seeing him almost fall down a mini waterfall, and like her maternal instincts. That's a cool plot thing that progressed that, so that's not something we got to worry about later.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the news. It's not like the news has to do anything. You just have to show a sequence. It's a cool way of letting other characters see what other characters are doing without actually being there.
Right. It kind of got Ash caught too by Professor Oak.
Well, that's true, but then it leads into Professor Oak giving him the theory about what's going on with the unknown. Like, it just became a normal communication. But yeah, that was just one thing that stuck out to me throughout the whole film. I was like, God, I'm surprised how tight, and that's just overall, I'm surprised how tight this film is plot-wise. There's really not really any plot holes to complain about at all. Everything flows into each other, unless you want to count the retcon of they've known each other since they were little. Although they even fixed that by saying, they just came to visit. It wasn't like they lived there the whole time.
Right.
They came to Greenfield just to visit for its like sightseeing purposes.
Yeah, so it wasn't like this contrived, she's always been around, but you've never mentioned her, Ash, like that kind of thing. So I'm just that.
And it was years ago, as you can see in the picture. Ash was probably like 8, 7, and Molly was like
2-3 years ago.
Yeah, Molly was like 3.
Yeah, so it makes sense why it isn't like a heavily like it wasn't mentioned before. It's not really a retcon that changes anything. It doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Delia Ketchum and Hale Spencer they were schoolmates.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's because they got 2 pictures. The first picture is them with their kids, and Spencer with his wife. But in the first picture is Oak, Delia, and Spencer. Although Delia is rocking this little like farmer girl outfit, and she gonna get herself in trouble if she don't stop playing these games.
Giddy up!
Actually, she probably did get herself in trouble. That's why she had Ash in the next picture.
You're like, giddy up!
God damn, we're fucking terrible.
God damn. So, can I say one thing I really do like about this movie?
Go for it.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me, there's only 2 movies I believe in Pokemon that really focus on Ash's character, like his development as a character, as a Pokemon trainer, as a person. And that's movie 8, which we will discuss later, obviously. Mm-hmm. And this movie. Movie 3, I feel, hits Ash the most, personally, as a person. Like, even if Ash wasn't a Pokemon trainer, I still feel like he'd have to be involved in this movie. He's a central piece. Because Entei steals his mom. This is his mother. Ash has history with Molly. This is hitting Ash personally.
Right.
Like,
well,
this has
yeah,
nothing
because
to
you
do
can
with
like
the
even
journey.
because even in the scene when they first meet Molly aged up, like when Brock's about to fight her, he does not give a like. She offers. She's like, "Oh, you guys are trainers, right? Let's have a Pokemon battle. I don't give a fuck about battling. Where's my mom? Come on, it'll be fun." Entei, don't change the subject. Where's my mother? And you can see it in his face. He is legit
And this is
mad.
Ash Ketchum we're talking about, like battle hungry Ash Ketchum.
I just thought that was a cool
Yep.
change, or even how mad he gets when he's chasing them when he first takes her and he tries to cross the crystallized land, and Brock's like, "No, you don't know what's out there," and he's just struggling.
He like punches the glass, the crystal.
Yeah, he's like, "I
mad he
couldn't
is.
save her." That's what he's like. I couldn't save her. Like he is
Right.
legitimately bummed out by this whole situation.
And I also love how even though Lisa is just a character that was introduced for Ash to battle, she puts in a legit amount of work and being involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely nowhere near as involved as Melody was, but I think it's a good balance.
But yeah, I would say like no character I feel is wasted in this movie.
Nah, none of them are. I think you could nitpick with like Molly's servants and like the butler and the maid and shit that are around, but it's such a minor thing. I feel like it's a nitpick.
I mean, they're just there to make it so the house isn't desolate.
It's also a cool way to make a film large and small scale at the same goddamn time. Because you're thinking, oh, we're not going to get any crazy locales. We're in a place called Greenfield. But, like, you're
Right.
going through, like, a beach area, a green grass area, this cool, like, otherworldly staircase and shit, frozen, crystallized lands and whatnot. And you're like, is this the same film? But that's the advantage of Pokemon. I feel like this used the unknown in the best possible way, which is the thing you should do with
Right.
psychic types in general. Illusions, changing of landscapes and shit. The only question
Right.
I have, and I find it a little weird, I don't know if you guys felt it was a little weird. I understand the point of it from a plot perspective. It just doesn't make sense to me.
What doesn't
Why-
make sense?
Why is it that the water couldn't be crystallized, but everything else was?
If I don't know, if I were a guessing man, it's just like, I guess any solid matter can turn crystallized, not liquid matter. So
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
there you
too.
go. I mean, and really, the crystal was made out of Molly's imagination. She's the one that thought this would be, which, by the way, kudos to this girl for not having a cliche-ass imagination.
Well,
Like, I
if you notice,
never would have imagined
Well, if you
everything being
notice-
crystallized.
well, one of the cool things you notice, it's tied into the book that she was read at the beginning of the film.
Right.
Like
Oh, yeah.
almost all the landscapes in the book are in the film,
Yes.
and it's like this cool. Of course, her dad used to read this book to her all the time. Of course, she has like this emotional connection to it. So of course, her imagination goes in that directions. That's the reason why
And
she
James
thinks of
does point
Entei
it-
as her father.
Right, and James does point it out. He says this whole thing looks like a storybook invented by a 5-year-old. But he like, it's not shoved down our throats. It's just a transitional period that Team Rocket has in a by the way situation. It's not a scene where Ash and the others look around and go, "Oh, this is based off the storybook that Molly," like, no, sometimes less is more. And I
Well-
like the fact that it's explained to us in a non-direct way.
I will say, I guess we should bring up Team Rocket for the sake of the film.
Yeah.
They're pretty inoffensive for the most part, I would say.
Yeah.
I
I
will
didn't
say
have a problem with
the
them.
best fucking joke in the film is them waiting in the water, and Meow's like, "How are they waiting if they're walking?" No, they're waiting. No, they're walking. They're waiting. They're walking. They're waiting. Are they walking through the stream? Yeah. Then they're waiting.
Yes, then they're waiting.
I don't know why I find that so fucking funny.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like the one where they look at the unknown and James goes, "I haven't seen this many strange letters since I spilled out a personal ad."
I'd be legitimately curious what the Japanese comments are. Like, I want to know
Yeah.
what they say in Japanese, because I know half of this is not the case. But I'm very
Right.
curious about the whole situation.
Yeah, and I feel like Team Rocket, they weren't as active as they were in movie 2, but they are active enough to make their presence known. They save Ash from falling. They're in the movie to be in the movie to serve as comic relief, but they don't
Right.
destroy the movie or slow it down to a halt. So I think their presence was necessary.
Yeah, most of
Mm-hmm.
their scenes are short, and they don't do anything to
Yeah,
piss you off. So you're kind of
they don't
like,
break the flow.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're kind of like, oh, they're fine. I have no issues with it.
Yeah,
right.
they weren't completely useless. They were actually, uh,
Um,
it was like 50-50, at least.
so, I was gonna say, Richie, what did you? Because we did. I don't think I let you say your
No, no,
thing.
no, that's fine. Actually, I have a couple things. Number one, I like to point out the one thing I think we need to see more often in Pokemon movies, when we have other characters besides Ash, is the fact that the side characters are actually useful. Like, I feel like this was one of those movies where the side characters were useless. Actually, weren't useless. For once, they actually did something instead of just standing there and just let Ash do all the work. So,
Absolutely.
this is one of the best movies to display that sort of thing. So,
The dog
what?
agrees.
Yeah,
Yes,
right, right. Thank you for your perspective, dog.
the dog agrees.
But go ahead, Richie.
No, but no. Anyways, it's really one of the best movies. The way that they, with Misty and Brock battling against against
Molly.
Molly, yeah, Molly against Molly. I I don't know. I just like it when side characters are actually useful. Like, I don't know how else I could really say they were actually did something. And of course the movie tries to put a little bit more focus on Ash, but at least it was generous enough to let us know that, hey, Misty and Brock can do something. They're capable of something. So it felt pretty good. Also, the second thing I like to talk about is kind of the theme behind the movie, and I have a little bit of a criticism for it. And, well, actually, not really, but I'll just try my best. So basically, it, 4Kids' weird way, or weird instance, I should say, of shoehorning the extra morals into the films that didn't really exist in the Japanese version, and I didn't see the Japanese version, so not for a while at least. But I have a pretty good idea of the theme in that version. So let me explain. The first movie, as we all know, had a bunch of kids who participated in these fights for a living, talking about how fighting is wrong. So basically, in other words, they go out to fights, and then at the end they're like, "Oh, fighting is wrong." While the second movie, as we all know, had the theme of, "Oh, one person can make all the difference," which was the theme. But I felt like movie two's plot, like the actual plot, didn't really. It kind of contradicted that idea. And also, as far as this movie, I think they did a better job of resisting the urge for shoehorning extra shit in there that didn't really make much sense considering what the plot was. And I mean, there's really no message squeezed about. And I'm not saying this in a bad way, or, oh, I think they should have done this, but there's no message squeezed in about respecting your parents, or anything's possible if you just use your imagination, which I agree with Tyrone. I like the fact that it wasn't cliche. It wasn't your typical girl imagination. It was actually out of the box, which I applaud the movie for doing. I mean, here's the story. Japan got the bad with the good. It's actually surprisingly nice. So I'm sure you guys agree with the fact that these side characters, that this movie did a really good job, as one of the few, I would argue, to actually make the side characters actually useful instead of just standing there, just being there. So I was wondering if you guys agree with that or not.
Yeah, this is the most useful Oak has been, or well, I guess I wouldn't say it will ever be. This is one of Oak's more useful movies. I'll say that. Delia, great. they all kind of serve a purpose. They all do the job they need to do well. Then none of them are overbearing. None of them are really annoying. They just kind of do what they need to do, and they kind of pass the buck along. So it never feels overbearing in certain areas. So I enjoyed the side characters.
I can see from, and this bugged me at first when I was younger, but as I get older, I think I've gotten a better perspective of it. But I remember Delia Ketchum, Ash's mom, being in the Crystal Tower with Molly, and she broke out of her hypnosis when Ash was about to fall, like you said before, Terrell. And all that time, she was no longer under the spell anymore. And as a kid, I was always like, you're not under the spell anymore. Book it. Get out of there. But as I've gotten older, I think I start to get a lot more of why Delia stayed there, didn't cause a huge ruckus about it, didn't cause a major conflict with her. It's because she's still a mother. Like, she's still a mother, and she still has maternal instincts. So she was there to at least calm Molly down a bit, to keep her company, because she knows that Molly lost her mother.
Which is something we need to address, Molly as a character or a villain, if you want to call her that.
She's the best. I guess you can call her a low-key antagonist, because I did make a Twitter I did make a tweet about it.
I saw the tweet, bro. I saw the tweet.
Yeah, and someone pointed out a good point. She's more of an antagonist, but she's a really well-written antagonist.
Well, it's because think about it. And it's weird because this movie comes off insanely dark from the get-go. Spencer, your wife has been gone for a while. Just fucking disappeared. And oh, by the way, Molly, your dad just literally did the same thing like 10 minutes ago. You're an orphan. Congratulations.
Yeah, a lot for a 6-year-old to hold down.
Yeah, like it's really dark and fucked this girl up. So mentally, you don't ever. It's weird. It's like she's the cause, but you never really blame her. And then on top of that, it was mentioned in the film that even when he was around, Spencer wasn't always around for her anyway. So she was already lonely as it is, and then she already lost her mother, and then you lose your father, which was the only like bright spot in your life in the moment. And now you're all alone, and all you got left is this fucking research notes and a box full of alphabet soup. Like
alphabet soup.
Yeah, it's well cut. And it's because of that you never really are angry at Molly, because you know what she's gone through and what she's suffering from. And then she's dealing with trauma and loss, and she has no one to confide in, so she can't handle it.
Yeah, so, it's hard to really. I agree. It's hard to really get, because usually when you look at a villain, you kind of get like, you're kind of like, oh, why would this villain do that? Or I'm pissed off at this person. With Molly, I don't think you can really get angry at her. You could be like, oh, I don't know why she did this, but I don't think there's really any. I don't think there's any good reason to really get pissed off at her. Yeah, maybe sure the way that she did was a little bit overboard.
She's an antagonist you can relate to.
Yeah, I mean, we can all relate to that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I would say that's a good antagonist, and when you really stop to break down the two central characters, Molly and Ash, they're both affected personally by this. Molly just wants a family. Ash has a mother. Molly wants a mother because she lost her mother, and that's where Delia comes in. So neither one of them want to lose somebody that they had once before. So it's an internal struggle between two characters that just happen to have one person that they're connected to at this point. And to get in the way of that is Entei for Molly, and for Ash, and for Molly it's Ash, Brock, Misty, and everyone who's trying to get involved to save Delia. So it's just like this, it's so personal, and it doesn't have to threaten the entire earth because a legendary or Pokemon or something is involved. It's personal. It's all deep-rooted character personal.
Well, it's also a cool way of introducing Entei without using Entei. It's like, we want to use Entei in the film, but we don't. But he doesn't work in the story. Well, fuck it. Don't make it be really Entei then.
I always thought.
Go ahead.
Looking back at it, I always thought that Suicune should have been the Pokemon to take the spot. Hence the Pokemon Crystal. But whatever. But this is fine too.
I think that's your bias. I think that's what that is.
Well, no, I always felt like Suicune matched more of the crystallization theme and looks, but then I guess aesthetically, Suicune probably wouldn't have, its colors wouldn't have worked for this movie because it would have blended in too much with the background, probably.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna point out. Also, I'd like to talk about talk about the animation for like a minute. I think it was beautiful. It was a.
It doesn't look as good as movie 2. But in certain sequences, it looks really fucking good. But it's not consistent.
Exactly.
It's not consistent.
Well, to me, I think the best looking scenes probably then are just like the worlds that they fight Molly in, and then Charizard's fight with Entei.
I think it has good art direction. I just don't think it has great amazing animation. It has moments of amazing animation. It's just not consistently amazing animation. On top of that, I think the OST is weaker in this film because they kind of reuse the same theme every time the crystallization happens. So you hear that shit over and over again. I think movie 2 had a better score.
I think a couple of things to that. Number one, I think this was a habit they started doing later on in the movies. But I think what they started to do is that it seems like they make one theme, like make one track for the movie, and then they remix that same theme almost a lot, like 2 or 3 times. This is something I noticed in the later Pokemon movies. And not that I would really argue with the idea that it's bad or it's cheesy. Like I think a few of those copies are good, but sometimes it's just not necessary.
It gets redundant.
Well, I feel like when this comes in from a lot of animations where in the West, in America, and you can hear it like in a lot of other things, they do a thing, and I'm sure you've heard the term already, it's like Mickey Mousing, where
I had.
where a character is very established. Yeah, where if a character is very established by having a certain sound. Like for example, in Tom and Jerry, let's say Jerry's a mouse, so he's smaller. So if he tries to tiptoe past somewhere, they do the xylophone like ding 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 ding. But if Tom's chasing him and he's tiptoeing, well, obviously Tom's
dramatic.
a bigger. Yeah, he's a bigger cat. He's the predator. He's the antagonist. So it's gonna go bum 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 bum, like just a louder noise. And I guess when the movies do things like that, like especially in this one, the idea was that the crystallization was supposed to have its own theme because it's spreading across the entirety of the field.
Right.
Oh yeah, I can agree with that. It's just more so when you compare it to movies. It's not really obnoxious. It's just more. It's redundant. It's like in movie 2, you didn't. There was a theme in movie 2 that was repeating, which is the song. Melody song repeats a few times throughout the film. Right. But it's broken up enough to where it's not as redundant. Whereas in this film, you hear it a lot because the crystallization is constantly happening. The other, in general, I just think the tracks aren't as strong as they are in movie 2. But the major thing is just that the way the movie is structured, the music doesn't need to be as epic as movie 2's was. Like, it's not really it's not like the track is bad, more so as it's just we've heard better. That's my whole thing. It's not as bad, we've just heard better.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you that I know there's less songs here that I really like personally enjoyed outside of the opening theme where Ash was fighting Lisa. I think when Misty fought Molly, that's one of my favorite songs in the movie.
Actually, I think when Brock fights Molly and I think when Brock fights Molly, I think I like both of those tracks.
They're really
I like both of those themes, but it's not like the whole film is like consistently banging you with these hits. It's like you find like 2 or 3 songs you really like. The rest of them are just kind of okay. They do what they need to do. I guess the only other thing we need to address is that fight, that fighty fight. Actually, we need to address all the fights, and I have to be real with you, because I think Brock got cheated in his fight.
Yeah, I felt bad.
Well, he points out that Molly's illusion Pokemon are tougher than real ones.
Are we going to take that as canon? That's the question. Before we continue, are we going to take that statement as that is fact? Because that dictates how we depend on these fights.
She's using modded Pokemon.
So we're going to say yes, that's probably true.
I wouldn't care.
Yeah, well, the Pokemon are based off of her imagination.
The reason why I say this is because for one, Brock makes a dumb decision off the bat. No pun intended, because the first
That
Pokemon.
was too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, he sends out Zubat against a Flaffy, and I'm like, this was dumb on a base level, let alone a fucking if the Pokemon's stronger than usual. The one that I fucking couldn't stand when I saw it was the fucking Phanpy.
That was a
Oh,
problem.
no.
That was a problem.
That
That was
was-
like, okay, come on.
That was really bad.
Some unrealistic shit. Oh, I can roll out and flip a fucking Onix.
Yeah, that one's a.
And it's a rock type
definitely.
move. That shouldn't even have done that much. It's the first roll, but that's the funny thing. It was the first roll. It was a rock type move, and you're like 100 times smaller than this son of a bitch. You kidding me? Make no fucking sense.
Yeah, I feel like there should have been an instance where Brock could have at least won one of those 3 battles, because I think they had a 3v3, and Brock lost. Like, he got swept.
Yeah, I think the only fair fight was the Vulpix versus Teddy Ursa.
Teddy Ursa, yeah.
And even that turned into some shit, because, like, it's like Vulpix use quick attack, and he's using Fury Swipes, and at one point, Teddy Ursa just grabs Vulpix and just throws it on the ground. I'm like, what kind of shit is this?
Teddy don't fuck around.
How dare you?
Right.
And then the Missy fight, we don't even get a conclusion for it.
We get, like, yeah,
Nope.
so all we get is a 2v2 and Goldeen being completely useless.
Well, Golding, I
mean-
forgot. I
I mean-
forgot she had it. I dead
Are you
ass
surprised?
forgot.
I'm actually surprised that Goldeen got screen time. That's,
That's
I was
probably
applauding
true.
just for that.
Wow.
At least they gave her. At
Well,
least.
because
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, because Goldeen has very limited options. It's a fish. Where can it be?
Well, I think that's the only reason why she used it.
Yeah, and I would
Yeah.
say that's the only reason why they had that whole underwater fight in the first place, was to give Goldeen some justifiable screen
I
time.
will say the Staryu versus Manton fight was at least more even.
Yeah, because Misty did a very video game strategic move.
Yeah, using Rapid Spin to get out of the whirlpool.
Yeah.
There was, but once again, their film gets. I mean, their fight gets cut off, so we don't get to see the full thing.
Right.
And now we address that fight. Now I'm not even gonna bother with Ash's Pokemon fighting Entei.
Yeah, that was pointless.
It's so unnecessary, and we don't care. We need to address.
Hey,
That's my boy.
Pikachu put up a kind of good fight.
You know, I'm surprised how little Pikachu is overly focused. Like Pikachu isn't overly focused on this film. It's actually weird
Yeah.
considering how.
Cyndaquil and Totodile put up
think
some,
that's
like,
good.
Cyndaquil and Totodile got one-shotted, but Pikachu put up a decent fight. And he didn't use Chikorita in the fight, but he did use Chikorita and Bulbasaur outside. So
Yeah, I figured the part you wanted to geek out
Right.
about was the usage outside of battles, because it happens
yeah, he
twice.
used Noctowl. Yeah, he uses all 6 of his Pokemon in this movie.
Does he not have Heracross?
He didn't catch it yet. Hence why Bulbasaur's there. No, hence why
No, I thought Heracross was his first. You tell me he had Noctowl before he caught Heracross?
either that or he just didn't use Heracross
Because
yet.
I could have swore Heracross was like his first Gen 2 Pokemon.
No, Chikorita was, I think.
Yeah.
Was it?
I don't know. We'll check. He
Well-
probably just didn't use Heracross because it's so bulky, and there was no way they could probably put it
And
in the
listen,
movie.
as a fan, I'm biased as fuck. This is the reason why I bring it up. All right. Wait, no, he does. He doesn't, because 6 Pokemon would be because in the beginning battle it's Pikachu, Noctowl, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Totodile. Who am I missing?
Yeah, let's see. From what I see, we got Noctowl, Pikachu, Chikorita, Cyndaquil, Totodile, and Bulbasaur. Those are his 6.
So
as of right
I
now.
guess he did not have him. Oh yeah, because he
just
has a
got done
lot.
releasing Squirtle.
Squirtle.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. Sorry, this
Yeah,
is anime nerd shit people might not give a fuck about. It's just
Yeah,
something.
he just got done releasing Squirtle. He's gonna get Heracross later, and then
Right.
he'll
I
swap
swore
out.
Heracross was
He'll
earlier
swap
than
out
that.
Bulbasaur. Yeah, he'll swap out Bulbasaur for the Heracross, and they have a full team.
Right.
I don't think he switches them out first because remember that was the main gimmick with Heracross. that he
Oh,
would-
you know what? I actually know what happens. He does catch Heracross at this point, but he sent it to Professor Oak so Professor Oak can study it.
Yeah, like it was. I was like, I knew he caught him before all
Sounds
this.
about right.
And then he'll switch it back out later for Bulbasaur. So because Professor Oak goes, yo, I need Bulbasaur to level out the Pokemon here in the lab. Can you
Yeah.
switch out for Heracross?
That's what was bothering me. I knew he was around. I knew he had already caught him. I just couldn't think why he wouldn't have been in the film. That's besides the point.
Yes. So he didn't take him out yet, but and the Noctowl was just used mainly to get Chikorita and Bulbasaur up to the waterfall.
Yeah,
so
we
he can
only
mine
saw
with
it.
them
We
all.
only saw Noctowl like twice. But yeah, I do like the whole using Pokemon and to get up the build. Like they use them to climb the waterfall and they use them to get into the building, which is actually a pretty clever correlation. Oh, first team used the fire to break through. The second team used the water to make sure the hole doesn't reform. Everybody jump through the water stream. Although I don't think part of that makes sense, but fuck it, it's fine.
just let it happen.
And I guess
At this,
go ahead.
at this point, I think it was just very cool that they did that instead of just being in the tower.
Right, and I guess finally, because I think we've addressed everything else, Entei versus Charizard. Thoughts, opinions?
It's my boy. That's all there is to it.
It's your boy!
I think that at first, and I was much like you, Richie, when you talked about it, I thought that Charizard being there was pandering very hard to this is Charizard, Ash is Charizard, and we all know that Charizard's a very overrated Pokemon. At least at this point, it wasn't as overrated, but back then Charizard was a popular Pokemon.
I don't think back then he was overrated, but yeah, you can make the argument that he is now.
I mean, he was.
Now he is.
Yeah, he was overrated. Period. Just his debut was overrated, but Charizard in himself wasn't as hype as he is now for some reason. But his appearance here was justifiable by the fact that he saw it on the news, and it they're in the Johto region anyway, so Charizard being here and fighting, I guess, was fine, just only because Charizard didn't win, he didn't save the day, he just stopped Ash from dying. That was his accomplishment.
Although he was fighting an
that's a
unfair
big one.
fight, dead ass.
Oh, he put up a good fight.
No, I'm saying, but the fight was so unfair. The motherfucker was creating platforms the whole goddamn fight, and he's like. And the one thing I thought was kind of stupid is you see Charizard flying up the thing while the spikes are coming out. And the only thing in my mind I'm screaming is, why don't you just fly away from the goddamn thing? Just fly in the air instead of trying to fly so goddamn close to the wall that's shooting spikes out at you.
I think they just wanted a visually appealing.
Oh, no, visually, I knew that's what it was.
Yeah,
because visually
that's what
it
I'm
looks
thinking
really
too.
fucking cool. I just hate it because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I feel like, and the fight goes on for a lot longer than I thought. Like, the fight goes on quite a bit, and I believe that's mostly just to show off the fact that, one, Charizard can fly, two, Charizard's a powerful fire-type Pokemon, and it needs to fight off against Entei. Because I always was like, okay, Entei can't fly, what can it do? Then it creates those crystals, and I'm like, okay, so visually this is a pretty cool-looking fight.
Yeah, they just kind of use it. Essentially, he has the advantage, even though he's at a disadvantage.
Right.
Because, I have a bunch of fucking platforms I can bring out of nowhere that can hurt you. Oh, and I can still shoot you with my fireballs, you piece of shit.
Right, and so basically what it is they're stringing out a legendary fight. But to be honest, I think this is one of the only few times where Ash has a 1v1 against the legendary. So I thought that was pretty impressive. If we're not counting, when he fights Articuno and other legendaries later. But this is Ash's first true 1v1 against the legendary, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Richie, thoughts, opinions?
I agree. Also, there is a point I wanted to make about the animation, and I'd like to touch based on that real quick. Basically, like I said, it was a hit or miss, but what I was going to say at the end of that was I think not to suck on movie 2 a lot, because I don't consider myself to be a movie 2 fanboy, but the second movie to me had a lot more interesting camera work, per se. And they obviously had more varied locations to work with. While, as we all know, in movie 3, it's just pretty much one big setting. So I think it's a little bit harder. I think it's a little bit harder to do to pull off some better animations in a singular setting than it is because if you do it all over the place, it gives you a little bit more flexibility. But in a singular setting, sometimes it could be a little bit off. So, I mean, I wouldn't even go as far to say is I don't think a lot of the CGI really stood out more than movie two's Flying Fortress. I'm talking about the outside, not the inside.
No, yeah, of course.
Right.
I think the
So,
CGI was really only used for unknowns, right? And to me, it worked.
And
for
I think the pillar.
Yeah,
Like
but
that.
to me, I feel like the CGI worked for the unknowns because they're unknown.
Yeah, literally, like I think it works out because, and also they're not shown in the film in a lot. They're around, but they're not overly focused on. Like you never do like a real close up on an unknown, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I think like the only time they really showed one up close was the one that got behind Professor Hale, and then teleported away, and then that was the only time they really saw them up close. Most of the time, they were moving really fast and super fast animation.
Right. So I don't really have an issue with that, but
yeah.
But yeah, I just want to throw that out on there. I know some people probably will be like, "Well, it's a singular setting. How hard would it be?" But you know,
right.
This is a good example when you at least compare movie 3 and movie 2. And I'm not saying movie 3 CGI is bad. It's not, but compared to its predecessor, it's not. It's not great, but it's also not bad. I say it's around the middle. So
well,
I'll just put it at that.
This is part of the problem with when making films a year after each other. There's not a lot that can really change in animation style and quality. That's going to be a major jump from one to the other. I think the only reason why the second film is so much better than the first film visually, among everything else, is honestly because the first film didn't have that much of a budget. I think the first film could have done a lot of the similar shit. But I think it primarily was just due to the fact that we didn't know how well the movie was going to do. And then the movie did gangbusters, and you went, oh, guess we got to keep doing these.
Right.
I mean, the funny thing is, Terrell, is that comment right there is literally what happened. They just thought that, oh, we're going to make one movie, and that's it. But the fact that it became a popular sensation overnight, they were just like, oh, guess we could keep making more. So, but yeah. That's all I have to really finish up on the animation part, and I thought the fight itself, just to give off an opinion, was about even. I can understand the argument for the crystals going all over the place and how Charizard was so close, but I think Entei kind of had the foresight to know where he might go. So
he's also a cheating bitch. This is why the fight was the fight was not in Charizard's favor from jump. In other words,
if it was a real Entei, he would have had some difficulties fighting Ash's Charizard under those circumstances because Entei can't do that.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, Game Genie is in movie 3.
No. Game Shark, sir. Game Sharks.
Bro, I'm trying to be old school.
Oh, you're too young.
But Game Shark is what was used traditionally on Game Boys, I think.
Yeah. Anywho,
Game Genie is a Sega.
Also Nintendo NES as well.
Oh,
yeah,
God,
NES.
Guys. So I guess we've addressed everything else, right? I don't think we've missed anything. So.
Yeah, I would say I think we've gotten everything.
Did we talk about Entei's demise?
I mean, you mean when he shoots a beam and everything kind of...
Oh, that? See, my issue with that is...
Oh, boy.
Wait a minute!
Because it's not a big thing. To me,
but it's enough!
To me, it feels like the movie needed to end it off with a big bang, which is like, okay... I guess, because it felt like a last minute, oh, by the way, the unknown have gained too much power.
Well, I mean, it's not really overly offensive to me. It's like...
Right. It didn't bug me to the point where I didn't like it anymore. It's just like...
It's there.
Yeah,
right.
It's just there.
Yeah, it's not like, there's nothing... Like, I almost forgot about it because there wasn't really nothing to note to address there. It's just like, oh, yeah, I mean, it ends, Entei disappears, the house returns to normal. And in the end credits, we get that song, and Molly gets her parents back. And Charizard leaves again. There's not like a lot to it. It's just fine. That song used to give me goosebumps when I was younger. It doesn't so much anymore, but it still kind of fucks with me, which makes me very curious about how I'm going to feel about Pokemon Hero soundtrack, because Pokemon Hero soundtrack used to fuck with me.
Oh my god, the Hero soundtrack is amazing.
It gives me goosebumps. I remember when I used to listen to it originally, so I am curious about how I'm gonna feel when I rewatch it.
Yeah, but the song "Know the Unknown," "Know the Unknown" is still a really good song. Man. Here's one of the things I gotta say, just about all Pokemon movies as a whole up to this point. This unfortunately I feel is like the last time that we get famous music artists and effort, the like prime effort to be put into a Pokemon movie. I don't feel like there's many like celebrities or guest appearances that are gonna put in as much effort as that.
Well, this is also around the time where, because the films weren't doing that great in America. Like movie 2000 didn't do great at all in the U.S. And movie three did. Movie three did like half of what 2000 did.
Because movie 3 unfortunately was like the end of Poke hype in America.
Yeah, which is kind of funny considering most people would argue movie 3 is the best of the first three films.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And I'm actually surprised movie 2 didn't do as well, because I thought movie 2 was going. Movie 2 is such a better film than 1. I'm surprised at how little it did. How it did less than movie 1.
Well, I believe, and this is where it goes into the fall of anime movies, because as you know, movies that are animated from Japan that move to the West are starting to decline at this point, and you're not seeing them as often as you used to, because animated movies just in general are starting to diminish at that point. If it's not Pixar or DreamWorks, then it's not worth it.
Unfortunately.
Right, anything from Japan was just like, we're not gonna put in the effort to make it blow up all over in Japan, all over in the Western audiences.
In Jamaica.
In Jamaica.
I mean,
in Jamaica. Like,
I would argue that that comment right there is a perfect description of the current dub, but that's a different topic.
Hey, listen, now you're just starting to throw shade all across the generation. Chill out.
Hey, am I wrong?
No,
Richie, chill out, Richie. It's too early. It's too late. We're too early in the Poke Marathon. Chill out.
Right, but anyway, if we're just talking about that, I want to say and I think they even know it too, because a lot of Pokemon movie 3s that you want to buy now for DVD and stuff, they're bundled with Pokemon movie 2000 and movie 1. All 3 of those movies are bundled together.
Because it's like it's the trilogy of films, even though
the original
they're
trilogy.
not connected, which we won't get to that kind of storyline until Sinnoh.
Yeah, they're not connected, but I think at this point those were like the 3 bigs of Pokemon movies. After this,
also considering people's opinions on movie 4, so.
Yeah, I also did, like, movie 4 was in theaters too, but we'll talk about that later. And movie 5 didn't even get a theater release; it went straight to DVD. So at this point, like,
movie 5 is gonna be interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I think movie 5 is gonna be one of the first interesting. Well, actually, movie 4 and 5, movie 4, 5, and 6 are gonna be the interesting reviews, because I think this is where our opinions are gonna start varying. Yeah, I would probably, especially movie 4 and 5, I would think.
Right.
But
we'll get into those when we get into.
Yeah, we'll get into those when we get into. But to wrap it up, score out of 10. Richie, go first. What do you give movie 3, The Power of the Unknown, out of 10?
All right. I was actually thinking about it for the last few minutes while you guys were talking about that for a moment. Let's see. I'm gonna give it 8.5 out of 10. I think it was a really good movie. I did like the plot. It didn't really, like I mentioned earlier, it didn't really have to contradict itself because with its own plot line. It actually told you. It actually did what it told you in the plot line. Because usually they'll tell you one thing, but then the actual movie will show you another. So I like that. The music, the English dub music, was great. I think the one thing I think the one thing you could improve is probably just the animation in itself. But I don't think that's a big.
This movie was made 18 years ago.
I mean, I don't.
17 years. Oh no, it was 18. My bad, 18.
I don't think it's a big deal. It still was good to some degree, but it wasn't. I don't think it was as great compared to the second one. So overall, 8.5. Out of the original 3, I say this one was my favorite, with movie 1 being a little bit closer, just because I'm more familiar with it than movie 2. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Tyrone.
I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Oh, you're weak.
Yep.
You're
No,
weak.
I don't care. This movie is awesome. I love it. I love the fact that this is Ash's personal movie that deals with his character. His mother's involved. He's involved. The world isn't at freaking stake, and Molly is a great character. Normally, I don't like little children in anime because they always just do little children things. And then Max fucking exists. So.
Oh god. Oh yeah. That's the reason why I think we're gonna disagree a lot on movie 6. But.
Yeah, so little children are always just that, little children in movies. But Molly to me is like a prototype version of what Bonnie's gonna be in X and Y.
Oh god.
Oh no.
She's just a great character though. She doesn't let the fact. Like, it's clear she gets upset. It's clear that she gets stubborn like a child would get. And all of it is realistic and easy to take in. Like, there's no point in the movie where she doesn't ignore reason. Yes, she ignores Ash's pleas, but they're mostly forceful. When Delia and Brock and Misty start to talk to her, she starts to see a little bit of what Ash is talking about. And she sees she sees how the consequences of her actions when Entei's about to kill Ash's Charizard. So she learns, she develops, she grows as a character. She gets better. I'm rooting for her towards the end of the movie only because she's just such a great character. And her character even gets closure. I mean, granted, the mysterious mother disappearing and showing up thing is kind of weird, but, at least she gets closure. And our heroes are involved, but they're not like shoved into like, oh, only Ash can do this. No, everybody
That's
can.
what I liked about it.
Yeah, everybody's putting a hand in helping this situation out. Team Rocket's not annoying in this movie, and like I said, the conflict in itself got solved in a very simple but easy to swallow manner. Like, this whole movie is basically the ending result of what happens when you put large emphasis on the characters rather than the environments around them. And I'm a sucker for character development in anime, so that's mostly what it has to do with it. So yeah, the movie was great. I love the fact that this is a Pokemon movie and they actually focus on Pokemon battles. Molly makes this field look like a actual Pokemon stadium when she fights Brock. They fight in a cool underwater environment when Molly fights her in the underwater stage. And Ash and them have this very climactic crystallized Pokemon battle when he uses his Pokemon, then uses Charizard to fight Entei. Like, all of the environments are very well used. While they're not as many environments as Pokemon Movie 2000, they use what they have to their full advantage. It's not like, oh, we're here for one moment, let's get to the next island really fast so we can do this thing. So yeah, Ash uses all 6 of his Pokemon, and it's great to see that everybody was used to a potential that matches what their characters are. And they don't ignore the fact that Brock and Misty are gym leaders in this movie. So I really like that. I like that. I like that they didn't just stand back and commentate on everything that Ash was going through or anything. So yeah, this movie earns a 10 out of 10 justifiably because I love it.
Goddamn.
Goddamn.
So I guess my final thoughts. I'm not gonna go as high as Tyrone, but I'm not gonna go as low as Richie. I'll probably give it a 9. I would arguably say this, at least from what my memory of the Pokemon films, and that's all the way up until movie 13 or 14. I think this is the best written and the most tightly woven story of the films. Period. That's not including anything after movie 14 or 15, but from what my memory serves me, this film, it's so tight, it's so straightforward, it knows exactly what it wants to do, it knows how to get there, it makes use of every character it possibly can, and it just says, this is what we got, this is where we're going, boom, Here you go, enjoy. And it's almost like it's unlike, I would say, like if you took the other movies and used an analogy. Your mother's making a cake, but your mother wants to get fucking reckless and do some technical shit. And you're like, Mom, I just want a chocolate cake. And then so movie 1 is like a chocolate vanilla cake. Well, that's not what I wanted, Ma. Hey, it's still got some chocolate in it. Okay.
It's not vanilla.
Movie two is like this big ass tutti frutti cake. Well, the cake is good, Ma, but I wanted a chocolate cake. Movie 3 is like, here's your chocolate cake. Damn.
So basically, let me try and understand this, or let me try and understand this for those.
The hidden lore of my
confused.
analogies.
Okay, well, there's probably a few anyways. But so what you're saying is, the movies, these 3 at least, are gradually getting better, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're on an uptick, and I feel like movie 3 took elements from movie 2 and understood how to make them better, and that you can feature a legendary without having to go through this ridiculous shit to make the legendary make sense in the film. Illusions. You're dealing with psychic Pokemon. It's not a hard concept to mess with. Boom.
Well,
here's an illusion of Entei. Boom. Here's an antagonist that you can relate to because she lost both her parents. Boom. We need a reason for Ash to be here and to be relevant. You took my mom. That's all the motivation I need. I love my mom, and especially if you've watched the anime, you know how close they are. Boom. Instant emotional connection. The strings are there. You ain't got to do a bunch of fucking work. And now all you got to do is let him get up there to have the confrontation. Boom. Done. It's such a tight film. The only thing I don't necessarily care about is probably the animation and music are weaker. And there are some minor, and I have very minor gripes. Nitpicky like gripes with the fucking film that aren't really important to go over. But the film, I argue, is probably going to be one of the best written films. And it's a film that ages like fine wine. The shit just keeps getting better. I don't remember the film being this good when I watched it the first time. Like when I watched it last night, I had to go, whoa, this is a lot tighter of a film than I remember. This is good shit. When I did not think this possibly a movie 3 when I first watched it. Shit will age beautifully. And that's great, because that means no matter how old you are, you can go back and watch it, and there you are. You're right back in the goddamn moment. So 9 out of 10.
Molly is like, when Molly is crying and putting the little pieces of tablets together for the unknown, I felt that. This was one of the times in that movie, because I watched it several times, but when I watched it this time, I felt that. I was like, wow, because she had already been through so much. And you can even feel the disappointment in her when Professor Hale's assistant calls, because she's got nothing against his assistant. She's just got something against the fact that every time he calls, you know what that means. It means it's time for Professor Hale to leave.
Yeah, it's like trauma.
Right.
It's so like a form of trauma that's built up over time.
And they made sure to correctively make sure that the father's reading her a bedtime story and having fun, and her riding on top of him like he's Entei, and being on the little ponyta seesaw toy. They made sure to have this really nice moment that didn't feel like it was too long, because anime movies don't have that anymore for real, where it's like just them having fun for a little bit. It doesn't have to serve a purpose. It doesn't have to fill in a plot. It just needs to be something that you can take in to make the environment feels like it exists, and not, oh, these are characters that are set up to fight characters later on.
Right.
So yeah, when Molly had that moment with her father, it made the him about to leave moment all the more greater, because she could feel it. Yeah. Right.
I think we're good. I think we've
Yep.
We've done all we can. We can't do no more.
It's over.
Please, folks who enjoy the video, thank you for watching, liking, commenting,
watch this movie,
ringing the notification bell.
It's actually good.
I'm trying to do the goddamn outro, son of a bitch.
I'm sorry.
Go watch the fucking movie. People say go watch the movie. Say go watch the movie. We all gave it up above a 7. It's better than the first 2 films. Go watch the fucking film. If you need to watch a Pokemon film, watch the third one. You don't even need context for the third one. Watch the fucking third one. The third one's good. Anywho, next time we meet and next time you'll see a video from us, all three of us together, will be for movie 4, Pokemon Forever. This will be a if that's up this way, movie 3. If movie 3 is the peak,
I expect our opinion.
listen. If movie 3 is the peak, you're about to witness the beginning of the fall. Kind of depends on how people feel. Because honestly, I don't even know how you guys feel about movie 5. That's what I'm more curious about. But movie 4 should be interesting. And I just rewatched movie 4 like 2 years ago when I started doing Pokemon movie reviews. Movie 4 was one of the first films I watched.
Disgusting.
So I've already seen it relatively recently, but we're gonna watch it again. I don't know how this is gonna go, but it'll be an adventure, y'all, and y'all can look forward to hearing us talk about it, because forever is forever.
It gives that name for a reason.
Yep.
Oh God.
So until then, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Tyrone and Richie, for being here. And we will see you guys again on the next video. Life's a game, play to win, and remember, you're not having fun if you're not going a little bit crazy. Later, guys.
Watch the movie.
I don't know if I got that.
Can I just show a GIF file of me face palming for movie 4's review?